You live in a world where TikTok is the most addicting app on the entire planet, but it was never supposed to be this way. This disrupted the entire world as we know it, but how? To understand that, I need to bring you back to the very beginning in Beijing, China. In 2012, this man created ByteDance, an app factory with the sole purpose of finding the next thing to capture the minds of millions. Within a few months, they created apps like Laugh So Hard You'll Get Pregnant and Real Beauty's Every Day 100 Beautiful Girls, which isn't exactly TikTok, but we'll get to that. At the start, ByteDance struggled. They weren't able to attract employees due to its lack of reputation, but Zhang was motivated. He admired those like Steve Jobs or companies such as Google, and it was his goal to create something that could compete in global markets, especially since platforms like YouTube and Facebook are banned within China. The odds were against him, but one day it clicked when taking the train because he noticed how many people were using their phones. And then he thought to himself, what if all the content that these people watched were uniquely tailored to their interests? Within months, Tatao was born. This app was a news platform which used a complex algorithm to understand what users read the most and recommended content based on this information. But things didn't go as planned. It went beyond any expectation. What started as a mere idea exploded into a revolutionary breakthrough because the algorithm became so good it started understanding people better than they knew themselves. So Zhang got a new idea. The average time spent on Tatao was 74 minutes a day, so why stop at news? YouTube was blowing up, Vine had taken over America, so why not create a new platform? One which revolved around video content and used this powerful algorithm which controlled those who used it. In 2016, ByteDance released Douyin, aka TikTok only for China. Instead of users needing to subscribe to a channel or search for the content they wanted, when opening the app, it instantly threw the users into an endless scroll of content. Every like, comment, and share would teach the app what content the user liked and didn't, which to no surprise became incredibly addictive. But Douyin did something different that no other platform had done before. Where YouTube required editing software and hours of learning, Douyin had everything built in. Effects, filters, music, and more. No matter who you were, you could create a video with the chance of going viral, which definitely helped fuel the endless content machine. Seemingly overnight, Douyin became the social media platform in China, where anyone could become celebrities just by posting short videos, but everywhere else in the world, well, they had no idea this app even existed. While Douyin had taken China by storm, growing in users on a daily basis, over in America, their largest short-form app, Vine, was facing some major issues. Since 2012, Vine became the social media platform utilizing a 6-second format, which worked in a very similar way to Douyin. But as the years went on, the platform failed to evolve. Inside of Vine, there was no effects, no easy way to create anything other than low-quality videos, and the algorithm which they used often served people content that they didn't even want to watch. And to make matters worse, Vine was struggling financially. You see, today when you use social media, ads are the backbones of the platforms that we use, and without them, they would fade away. And this is exactly what happened to Vine, because back then there weren't any ads on the platform. At first, this wasn't an issue because the user base was so small, but after being acquired by Twitter, there came a point where Vine needed to become profitable. And in 2017, it was finally decided that the platform needed to be shut down because of new competition and lack of revenue. Following the death of Vine, a new app quickly took its place, and it wasn't quite TikTok just yet, but rather it was an app called Musical.ly. Musical.ly was originally created back in 2014 by two founders less than 10 miles away from ByteDance. Where Douyin was able to take over the entire Chinese market, Musical.ly took a different approach, where instead they decided to focus on international audiences instead. Following the death of Vine, the platform exploded in growth since it offered creators monetization, high-quality editing, music, lip-syncing, longer videos, and a bunch more, which instantly made it rise in popularity. In 2017, the platform had over 200 million users around the world, and Zhang was closely paying attention the entire time. You see, Zhang needed exactly what Musical.ly had. If he was going to break into the international market with his addictive algorithm, it would be hard to compete against another app which was already so established. So he had to come up with an idea. One day, Zhang went to have a conversation with the founders of Musical.ly, and they both agreed to a merger. With Douyin being so large in China and Musical.ly in America, both parties realized what was about to happen. So in 2018, Musical.ly was shut down in a deal worth $1 billion, and TikTok was born. Now in the beginning, TikTok wasn't wasn't anything like we know it to be today. Despite the massive acquisition of Musical.ly, none of the other American social media companies saw this new app to be a threat. At the time, YouTube was so focused on their long-form content, and Instagram, well, they were still stuck on stories and photos. So neither of these platforms thought that viral short-form content would be the next wave. In doing so, they allowed themselves to be vulnerable, and TikTok took advantage of this. They offered better jobs and salaries to Meta and Google employees in order to bring them over to help them grow this new platform. But how did this explosive growth end up happening? Well, back in China, when ByteDance launched Douyin, they had some pretty sketchy marketing techniques. They made deals with cell phone carriers to have the app pre-installed on devices, which meant there was no way that people wouldn't use it. But when it came to the West, well, their plan was even better. In the early days of TikTok, they actively encouraged users to download the content they made and share the videos across other platforms, which at first doesn't make any sense since a user is leaving the platform to post on competitors, until you realize that they are actually doing free marketing because every video had the TikTok watermark. Now, even if you have never downloaded TikTok, I can guarantee you have seen this watermark at some point before. And remember, with all of the in-app editing and custom effects, it was easier than ever to create, download, and republish content. So users would create one video before bringing it to all of their other social media accounts too. This wasn't all though, because the ByteDance team would also make thousands of fake accounts across social media just to repost content, all with the goal of reaching as many people as possible. With all of the money that they were saving from shooting, editing, and making fancy advertisements or commercials themselves, they just ran user-generated content as paid ads to grow the platform. You see, in the terms and conditions of TikTok, it allows them to use content in any way they want. Meaning, if there is a viral video, they could turn it into a paid ad to rerun on their rival platforms. And well, the effects, they were revolutionary. Initially, ByteDance targeted high population cities where the ads would be cheap to run, like some of the poorest cities in India, Africa, and South America, which meant they got more downloads faster and more users onto the platform for a cheap price. Just like a virus, with every new account made, this meant that more content was created, republished on rival platforms, and it was happening all over the world. This launched TikTok to the top of the App Store worldwide, which meant even more free marketing, and by the end of 2019, the platform had nearly 400 million users. But then something happened which would change the world forever. You probably already know what's coming. In 2020, the world shut down. People weren't working and schools were closed, so what was there to do? You couldn't go out, couldn't go to the gym, so all there was for entertainment was TV or social media. And let's be honest, TV kind of sucks. Naturally, during this time, people started to discover what TikTok really was, and with nobody working, millions of Americans started making content with the dream of becoming a celebrity. And well, one family ended up being the face of TikTok.
A little bit over a year ago, my friends started asking me to do TikTok dances with them. And being a dancer, I could learn the dances fairly quickly and then teach it to them. And then eventually I made my own account and I started posting videos. Now we're here again.
Charli D'Amelio was like any other kid, and one day she started making dance videos on the platform, and within months she was the most followed creator. Instantly, she and her family were thrust into the spotlight of fame and wealth. What if I told you that this was the doing of TikTok? You see, before Charli, the concept of becoming a celebrity on TikTok didn't really exist. But what if you could take a normal American family and show millions of people that this could happen to you too? Now, this is just a rumor. If I end up dead, I didn't do it myself, and it was probably Xi Jinping. Similar to TikTok's previous marketing campaigns, it is rumored that this was one of the many examples where select individuals and people were artificially thrust into the spotlight for different reasons, all in an effort to market TikTok as a platform, and well, it worked really well. Thanks to the lockdown and marketing strategies, TikTok exploded to over 1.2 billion users, quickly becoming the most influential app in the world, which quickly put a target on its back. In late 2020, documents and articles began to circulate how the Communist Party of China had gained unprecedented access to people around the world due to the nature of how the app worked. And just so you know, if you have TikTok right now, you agreed to all of this. By you signing up and creating an account and agreeing to the terms of service, you agree to them having access to all of your contacts, location, Wi-Fi network information, cellular device information, location, and pretty much anything that you could possibly think of. China and ByteDance controlled exactly what people around the world were seeing. As long as media has existed, it has become the primary way to control and influence the masses, which is why America has made a global effort to spread their movies, shows, and propaganda to the various corners of the globe. And TikTok has now given China the opportunity to enact the same control. You see, in China, even though companies can act independently of the government, ultimately the CCP has the final say to make changes whenever needed, meaning they secretly had influence over ByteDance despite them openly denying this for publicity control. But what's even more terrifying is when you look at the different kinds of content served on Douyin in China and TikTok for the rest of the world. If you open TikTok right now, you would likely see a dance video, memes, or other mindless content designed to rot your brain. But in China, this doesn't exist. On Douyin, the content which is pushed and shown revolves around creativity, education, and intelligence. And if you don't believe me, just look at how insane this video is compared to the TikTok. The American government was furious. How can China beat companies like Meta and YouTube to become the biggest app in the West? And better yet, how would they stop it? Well, that's easy. You just ban it. You see, in 2020, TikTok was banned in India and Pakistan for similar reasons, but now it was time for the US to follow suit. At the time, Donald Trump used China as a pillar of his presidency, actively making them the primary adversary to the United States, and so he put forth a motion to ban the platform. Immediately, the internet exploded, with TikTok influencers fearing that they could no longer dance their way to fame, and that they would actually need to get a real job. And lucky for them, the ban wouldn't end up happening, because Trump had lost the next election. With Joe Biden as the new president, TikTok and ByteDance were off the hook for the time being and continued to expand the influence of the platform, but behind the scenes, things were starting to crumble. Now that American companies had realized the importance of short-form video, YouTube and Meta introduced Shorts and Reels, which offered better monetization to creators, and slowly people began moving away from TikTok. Remember earlier that I told you Vine died because of not having ads? Well, TikTok learned from this in the worst way possible. Over the next few years, TikTok introduced affiliate marketing, TikTok Shop, and many more programs which turned the app into a never-ending slot machine of advertisements and shilling, all of which began turning users away. But in 2024, TikTok's worst fear finally came true. You see, even though Trump was removed from office, the ban had never officially been dismissed, and the Biden administration and the FBI were actively investigating. It was revealed that the app had been spying on American politicians and journalists. And soon after, TikTok was banned from any cell phone that was affiliated with a government position. And on March 8th, 2024, Biden said he would sign a law into banning TikTok unless ByteDance sold it to an American company. 6 days later, the House of Representatives passed this bill, meaning it has begun its mission to ban the platform. And all that remains is a vote in the US Senate. Filled with rage, ByteDance released public statements condemning this ban, with Chinese journalists saying either it's ByteDance's TikTok or the US government might as well shut it down. This sure is suspicious that they'd be so against giving Americans access to the secret algorithm. And even when they testified in court, well, things didn't go their way, despite some senseless questioning.
You said today, as you often say, that you live in Singapore. Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator.
At this point, only time will tell, but one thing that is certain is that TikTok has revolutionized the world as we know it. But without devices like Apple, none of this would have been possible, so make sure to watch this video where we dove into the entire history of the company, and make sure you guys subscribe for more.